Biden voiced support to Cubans, but the people want actions. Is there a way to return internet access to Cuba, and would the US government do it?
Mr. Pillow yanked big ads from Fox News out of principle. Why did he do that?
Crimes in big US cities grew by 16% over the same time last year, and why the rise?
Today's feature story. You won't believe what is CCP's top agenda when top diplomats negotiated with the US in Tianjin, China over disputes.
Hello, welcome to Wei and Kathy Show. I'm your host, Wei Fang.
And I'm Kathy.
All right, as same today, we have two parts. The first part is news of the day. The second part would be the feature story of the day, and which will happen on the other platform called the Safe Chat. If you have not installed it, please remember to do that.
And then plus the joke.
Plus the joke. That's the third part. Joke of the day. All right, it's great. So our traffic on the Safe Chat is growing by 120% in just 10 days. So I would say thank you very much. And
if you have not installed registered with Safe Chat, please do so and join us over there.
If you find the user experience is still lacking, that's normal because it's a new tool. But we interviewed the development team, and they're very diligent, they're very visionary, and they will straighten things out. They are also very modest in listening to feedback, and so it will become a better tool. And as I don't have to elaborate anymore, that the need to have a strong platform for freedom of speech. Okay, so today the feature story is very interesting. I have to say, it's just I don't know. I don't think virtually any American would be able to understand that.
Yeah, but you would wanted to know that,
right?
And it's very revealing. Actually.
It's very revealing. It's very important, and no American understand that too. I dare to say so. But stay with us. Okay, we will be talking about that. First, let's go to the news of the day. All right. So what's the top news? First news we want to cover, Kathy.
Okay, so first of all, President Biden announced a new set of sanctions against Revolutionary National Police in Cuba, including the chief and the deputy chief of the police of the force. So he said, I wanted Cuban Americans to know that we, America, around this table, and he said himself included, see your pain and hear your voice and hear the cries of the freedom coming from the island. So,
that's in the White House meeting where President Biden invited the Cuba activists or people who, renowned Americans who came from Cuba before, and then at the White House. That's where he made those speeches. Biden also said the United States is going to continue to stand with the Cuban people and who have suffered decades under a failed communist regime. And he also said you always know something not going well when the country will not allow its people to be engaged and be on the internet and being able to make their case known around the world. Biden also said the United States would continue to look for ways to restore the internet to the Cuban people, despite failing to announce a solution for 2 weeks. So in the meantime, there's Commissioner Brendan Carr, a Republican member of the FCC, and said on last Thursday in Miami that this is not a technological problem, and we have the technology today, and that can begin to be deployed to provide connectivity into the island.
Yeah, so actually I interviewed him this Tuesday in Washington, D.C. So let's just take a look.
This is Tuesday when Kathy was in D.C., and we would do a live broadcasting on the Safe Chat.
People of Cuba have taken to the streets to pursue their God-given right for liberty. There's a role we can play in America. We invented the internet. We are still the greatest beacon of freedom that the world has ever known. And one thing that the regime is doing right now is shutting down the internet so that the world cannot see the brutality and the steps they're taking to shut down these protests. We have the technological capacity here in the U.S. to beam internet connectivity into Cuba to support this movement. All we need is a decision from the Biden administration to give this effort a green light, and the American private sector enterprises can get this done.
Yeah, so it's being reported that actually the Chinese Communist government is behind the shutdown of the internet in Cuba. For example, Huawei technology. So how do you think the role the Chinese Communist government is playing in Cuba? What does that mean?
When you look at the digital fingerprints of the entities that are involved in blocking internet access in Cuba, you're exactly right. This shows the exact same fingerprints of steps we've seen from the communist regime. And so I think that's further to the point of why we need to step in and support this movement for freedom, because it's not just Cuba that's blocking internet access. They're doing it with the backing of communist China technology. So I think it's time for us to stand up, not just for Cuba, but against the efforts by the communist China regime to shut down internet connectivity and therefore freedom, just 90 miles from our own shores.
How do you think the current administration is reacting?
So far we've seen a lot of talk and very little action. So I think it's time that the Biden administration step up to the plate. This isn't a technological problem. It's simply a question of, do we have the political will to stand up in support of the Cuban people? And I think we should do that.
Yeah, to be honest, if you check around the internet, you try to read and understand that what are the technology available there, you came across SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's satellite company. The name is called Starlink, which is beam signals into the ground from the space. The other is to use the former Google's technology, which is just a balloon, big balloon that can go to the stratospace and at that layer, and then beam the signal down the ground. And the third one is the Guantanamo Bay. This is U.S. Navy base there, which they could beam signal around. They're also technology challenging, okay? But hearing from Commissioner Carr seems the solution is there. It's readily there.
Right.
It's just the political will. So if that's the case, we'll see. We'll see when and how that will happen. I'm really curious about what do you think, the current administration, because on the 15th of July, the Biden administration did an announcement saying that they are looking into solutions and also work with the Congress to find a way to enable the internet in Cuba. On the 21st, which is 6 days later, they say something. They're saying that they're working on this again. So now it's another 9 days later, and as you know, the protests started on the July 11th, which is 19 days ago. So yeah, so we'll see when that will come about, and hopefully Cuban can get a hand from the U.S.
Right. So let's go to the next piece of news. Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow, pulls all of his ads from Fox News, and why? So Mike Lindell is pulling all of the ads because
how big it is? Let's talk about how big it is.
Okay, how big it is? Last year, in 2020, it's $50 million. And this year, so far, it's almost $20 million.
Wow, that's a big ad placer.
Right. So why he pulled all of the ads? Because Fox News rejected one of his ads. So this ad is actually a 1-minute ad promoting a cyber symposium that Mr. Lindell is holding next month. So he sent this ad to Fox and other networks that he does business with. And so this cyber symposium will take place from August 10th to August 12th in South Dakota. And it's going to be on Lindell's social media website, Frank. So this ad, according to him and for people who watched it, it's very simple, just telling people about this event and ask people to go on to Frank to listen or watch it. But Fox rejected to run this ad because, according to Fox, it is because of a pending litigation, because it was sued this year by Dominion Voting System and the Smartmatics, and as well as Mike Lindell was sued. So although this ad does not mention anything like election fraud, although the symposium is focused on it. So according to Mr. Lindell, he said he spent $50 million on Fox ads last year, and so far this year almost $20 million. But he said it is going to hurt MyPillow because those ads are direct response ads. So he said he will lose lose another income stream, but he said, I have my principles. So what is his principle? He said, quote, I cannot let them do this to our country and suppress it and be part of the cancel culture, end quote.
Yep. Okay. So what do you think? Leave your comments there, and we want to see it, read it, and maybe we can read it back to you. And if we move on to the next piece of news, is according to a Thursday update to the organization called Council on Criminal Justice (CCJ). They issued a pandemic crime report, and the findings this. Okay, they basically study the online portal of the police stations all over the for the major U.S. cities across the country, and the findings this: murder rate has increased 16% across major U.S. cities during the first half of 2021, when compared to the same period of last year. And it increased by 42% when compared to 2019. What does that mean, right? So, okay, apparently 16% increase over last year, but last year also have a 30% increase over the year before. And then what is the reason? Okay, first let me update you about who are those cities, what are those cities, okay? The 29 cities altogether, examined by the CCJ, and they range from a smaller city called Norfolk, Virginia, right? 245,000 residents, to the largest one, Los Angeles, which is like over 3 million people. All right, so basically in May 2020, the murder rate rose sharply, exceeding the previous seasonal peak. And immediately after an important date, which is May 25th, when George Floyd died. So that event sparked a nationwide protest, riots, and now you can see murder too. So, and then the report said the homicide level remained elevated through the summer. Okay, so following the May 15th, the death of George Floyd, and rise through the summer, then before decreasing through the late fall of 2020. Okay, so late last year it dropped, and the winter of 2020, so it dropped into the when it approached the election and the end of the year. However, murder rose again in the beginning of the spring of this year. So basically, even we have a pretty elevated murder rate of last year at the same time, and this year already surpassed that. Mm-hmm. So it's not good news. And so we want you to know about that. But if you take a look at the entire history, the murder rate is not as high as 1990, where it's much, much higher, but it's ramping up. It's something still major public concern. Okay, so that's the news of today. So next we're going to move on to talk about the feature story of today. All right?
Yeah, so please prepare to move on to Safe Chat. So what we are going to talk about is while the Deputy Secretary of State, Wendy Sherman, in China, talking to the Chinese officials, actually the Chinese officials presented some list of actions, a list of requested action for the U.S. to correct. Yeah. And it's very interesting to see what's on there.
Yeah, I think they make a hiccup and then review something that they did not want to review. And I don't even think any American politician took note of that. But I could be wrong. But anyway, let's just talk about it. Okay, first, let's move on to the Safe Chat. We're going to wrapping up our show here. And for those of you who are here, please make sure you move on to Safe Chat. Yeah, our staff, please post the link there, the web link. In the meantime, if you install the app, that would be the best way to view our show over there and also get the notification, so you won't be missing that. Mind you, that it's not really just this show, right? We do other shows, and Kathy also have some pre-recorded shows uploaded every so often, and make sure you stay with us, because we are determined to be diligent on reporting to you about the truth and the major concern that people this country should have. Anyway, let's move over there. Let's say do it together. 1, 2, 3, go. Okay, all right. So YouTubers, bye-bye. All right, so great. Welcome to the Safe Chat platform. I'm taking a long breath, as you understand why. All right, so basically, let me give you a little background of this talk. All right. So the Biden administration, sort of, the diplomat Sherman is his deputy secretary, right? And went to China, and he used to go to just like I think South Korea and India and Japan without going to China. And after several rounds of arrangement,